Friends on the moon, friends on Mars. Well, I had a bit of a wild ride this morning. I was deeply asleep. 4:30. I sleep with a fighter pilot mask from my CPAP machine, and it's loud. But in the distant, out there somewhere, my phone was ringing. I feel sad as I report this. So when the phone rings at that hour of the night, you kind of think, you hope it's a wrong number or something. But it wasn't. It was Jennifer. And first I was listening to the wrong side of the phone, and then I got to the right side of the phone. And she was crying really hard. And she was saying, I'm in such pain. I'm in such pain. She's in Colorado. She's visiting friends. And she went yesterday. And she has the worst headache that she'd ever had. And she gets headaches. And I told her to wake her friend up and go to the hospital. And they're up in the mountains. They're up at 9,000 feet, which turned out to be important. So then she hung up, and then I didn't hear anything for a while. And then I called Heidi a couple of times, and she didn't pick up. And then I got a text from Jen. They were on their way. There's a small hospital up there. And it turned out, and it took about an hour, during which time I went to the couch to sit. What else should one do at such a time? I just went and sat in it, and I watched the fears coming up and the way the mind fantasizes. It wasn't wild though. Thank goodness for practice, because I was only anxious when I was anxious. When there was just the breath, there was no anxiety. And the stories were only stories when they were stories, and then they were not there. And they shot her up with a bunch of drugs, 4 different drugs. And they're thinking it probably was altitude sickness, which is awful. I had it once at 26,000 feet on Mount Kailash in Tibet. So then that passed. And then I was awake. I'm a little tired now. I've been awake a long time already. But then she's okay. Probably she'll sleep all today with the drugs that she's on. And she'll likely come home. But it did bring to mind, fortune changes like the swish of a horse's tail, said the Buddha. This could have been a really different day. This could be the day when I would be grieving the loss of my wife. Or the paralysis. She texted me and said, if this is a stroke that's going to leave me badly damaged, don't let them feed me. That's an interesting text to get from your wife, but I know it's true. So there's this truth that it always hides, it always hovers in the background. And it's so beautifully put in this poem. This is my promotion of my book, Mindfulness for a Happy Life. Chapter 5, The Eightfold Path, or The Path to Happiness. There's a poem here by Jennifer Wellwood. And it's really, I always, when I introduce this poem, I say, it's the kind of poem that's like, and I remember my mother, I think I was 9, 8. First time I was in a hotel room, my mother taught me how to fill a sink with water and how to splash water in my face to wash that way. So I remember her, now 20 years deceased. But this poem is like that. It's like a sink of fresh water on a groggy face. even before coffee. It's called I don't have the title in the book. That's interesting. Huh. It's The Dakini Speaks, the title is. I didn't put that in the book. My friends, let's grow up. Let's stop pretending we don't know the deal here. Or if we truly haven't noticed, let's wake up and notice. Look, everything that can be lost will be lost. It's simple. How could we have missed it for so long? Let's grieve our losses fully like ripe human beings. But please, let's not be so shocked by them. Let's not act betrayed, as though life had broken her secret promise to us. Impermanence is life's only promise to us. And she keeps it with ruthless impeccability. To a child, she seems cruel, but she is only wild. And her compassion is exquisitely precise. Brilliantly penetrating, luminous with truth, she strips away the unreal to show us the real. This is the true ride. Let's give ourselves to it. Let's stop making deals for a safe passage. There isn't one anyway, and the cost is too high. We are not children anymore. The true human adult gives everything for what cannot be lost. Let's dance the wild dance of no hope. Now, is that not a poem and a half? The true human adult gives everything for what cannot be lost. Let's dance the wild dance of no hope. I don't think this is an invitation to be hopeless. I think it's to go beyond hope. In honor of this beautiful day, I've been up for a while. I decided I would bring my beautiful Breedlove guitar and see if I could get it to work through the system, and I think I succeeded. This is a guitar that is so far beyond my capacity that it inspires me. I handed it to my friend Brian, who's taught guitar and played guitar for 50 years. Was in his living room. And all of a sudden it became this miracle of sound. And he played for 25 minutes or so, beautiful classical music. And when he finished, he said to his wife, "Honey, I'd like to see something like this in my future somewhere." It's one of a kind. I call it Ruth because the only way it happened was the inheritance I got from Ruth became a guitar. I wish I could do what Brian does with it. Let me just show you for a second what it is here. It's this incredible. It's one of a kind. Amazing thing. This is the special Breedlove indicator. So, all of that said, maybe my fingers will go numb as I play and I won't be able to complete. Or I'll get off by a core, a fret or two. But to remind us, everything's Everything that can fall apart will. So what shall we do? I take refuge, please join in if you wish, but let's keep muted, in the Buddha, the one who shows me the way in this life. Namo Buddhaya, Namo Buddhaya, Namo Buddhaya. I take refuge in the Dharma, the way of understanding and love. Namo Dharmaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Dharmaya. I take refuge in the Sangha, the community of mindful harmony. Namo Sanghaya, Namo Sanghaya, Namo Sanghaya. Sunday morning, the 1st of August, 2021. Portland, Oregon, planet Earth. A tiny little dust speck orbiting a tiny little yellow star, which itself is 100,000 light years from galactic center, in a galaxy which is one of hundreds of billions of galaxies. And here we are, a little speck of awakeness. And each one of us is at the exact center of the universe. And we have the capacity to wake up, to be fully alive, to be more and more fully alive. So let us embrace being present as a human body. As this human body, in this time, in this place. Meditation is so utterly simple. We can hardly tolerate it. How simple it is to be here. Now, with this in-breathing and this out-breathing, as the body breathes itself. Along with the body comes this mind. And the mind is a thought generator. It is how we became the dominant species on the planet. We can create fantasied futures. We can communicate with each other, so we work in cooperation. We can plan. We can analyze and figure out why something worked or didn't work. So let's keep our ability to think. And let's not let thinking run amok. Let's not let thinking run our lives. Let's not let emotional impulses run our lives. Instead, let us wake up. Let us remember the vastness that we really are. And let us come home to now, to here, to this body, this breath. At this moment, the mind might be quite quiet. How lovely. Or it might be filled with desire, with the 5 hindrances, with desire or aversion. It might be colored by restlessness, agitation, worry, remorse. It could be filled with doubt, despair, dispiritedness, or with sloth and torpor, sleepy dullness. These are not a mistake. They're not a failure. They're just the natural consequences of being a human being. Each breath is a lifetime. It has its beginning, its rising to fullness, its decline and its vanishing. There is no time. in a breath. There's just now. Sometimes there are sounds. There can be inner sounds and outer sounds. In this way of being in the world, there are no distractions. A sound is not a distraction. It is life manifesting as life, as hearing. Like this voice, it's just sounds. They have meanings. They may create images, they may create meanings and be useful. Or they could be just sounds. Such a relief to allow sound to be sound, to not have to fight it. There's a certain effort, isn't there, that's required. An effort of intention. I intend to keep awareness with breathing. I intend to wake up when the mind has been enthralled by some memory or plan, some past or future. I intend to sit still. To find that place of balance where it's possible to watch the world arise and pass away. This is the moment of existence right now. The Buddha and those who followed after and articulated the teachings taught us to restrain unwholesome states, to wake up to the 5 hindrances and do what we can to not let them flourish, to uproot them with awareness, to substitute other states when we can. To be profoundly loving. I aspire to love and accept myself exactly as I find myself. To bear with discomfort, I aspire to hold myself in sweet compassion. Whenever I discover myself to be hurting or lost in delusion, lost in clinging, lost in aversion, There's a beautiful phrase. I think I first heard from Joseph Goldstein. Settle back into the present moment. Rest back into the present moment. Or as Gina Salah sang, lie back in the arms of love. Rest back in the arms of love. Rest back in the arms you are safe from harm. Lie back in the arms of love. And what could be more loving than paying attention in the most gentle way to this breathing in now. And this breathing out now. All the fantasies of something you have to be that's different, or some achievement we have to do to finally count. Some level of intelligence, productivity. There's just now. And we can rest back in it. And just as the insight meditation is based in allowing everything to arise and pass away, to establish that our identity, our beingness is not something small and frightened, we can cultivate some beautiful thoughts, some wishes, some intentions. May my life become one great long sigh of gratitude. May my life become one great long sigh of gratitude. May I live with ease and grace. May I remember to be awake. May I remember that freedom is possible in this moment. May I become quietly curious about everything that happens at the sense doors, about every thought. And may all beings receive all blessings. May all beings remember their true great nature. May all beings go beyond conflict and strife and battling ideologies. May we remember our utter interbeing. And the gong will now ring a couple of times. The first is not the end. It's a call to being present to this sitting. And the second is not the end either. It's the announcement of the practice to come. There is no end of mindfulness practice. It's always happening now. I just had a funny experience. I was sitting here with a completely silent mind, just delighting, and then all of a sudden it was Poisson du jour shouting at me from Dan's picture. How funny. It was like a shout in an empty auditorium, Fish of the day. Very odd. Such is the wandering mind. It will seize on anything. I do have a couple of announcements. One is I invite you to stay for the Dharma talk today, which will happen after Jim does some mindfully guided movement. I'm going to talk about the 7 enlightenment factors as real practices, as something we can actually do to further our garden of awakening. Before that, I would like to invite you to visit the chat and see that there's a link there. And that link goes to the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion questionnaire that we have generated to find out what our community thinks, believes, wants, needs around the crucial topics of diversity, equity, and inclusion. And I guess we oh dear, I'm so bad with names. Anyway, one of our members said, perhaps let's change inclusion to belonging. How can we make PIMC a place where people of all of our diverse identities and shapes and sizes and colors and sexual orientations and capacities of ability and so on, how do we really do this in such a way that PIMC is already quite a welcoming organization. It's quite a healthy organization, and it can become more so. So we want your 2 cents worth. We want to hear what is of importance to you, and that questionnaire is an opening door. This is a process that we'll be engaged in for the next decade, I presume. There are other Dharma centers that have been doing that, and rather successfully and with difficulty and a lot of growth. The second thing I want to be sure to mention is that Kendall Summers is teaching tonight at PIMC, 6:30. You can find the link on the website. And also next Saturday, she has a half-day retreat, 9 to 2, where she will be looking at the paramis, the wholesome qualities, starting with generosity. And so that'll be a wonderful day, good way to spend a day. And Jim, have you anything to announce that I have neglected? Yeah.
Well, there's another Saturday event planned for the 14th, which is going to be a welcome back in person from to the folks that live in the Portland area and are available to just get together for a picnic on Saturday, August 14th. And there'll be some more announcements about that and the details of how to pull it together. I'm still learning. But at any rate, it's been an interesting process. And we have a small committee pulling together the details, and we'll announce more on the Connections newsletter, not newsletter, but listserv, whatever the word is for Connections. But save the date, the 14th, 2:30 to 6, and we'll be able to see each other. I had my wife and I had a dinner with my second granddaughter and her boyfriend on Friday night, and it was so amazing to have someone sitting across the table with you, chatting just easily, just like the old days. It was really a delightful evening, and getting together person to person is really a treat. So plan on it for the 14th.
I wonder Does it make any sense to set up an iPad or my phone on a tripod and have a way that folks at a distance could talk to somebody at the picnic? Is that madness? I wonder whether anybody would even want to.
It would require a lot of energy.
Yeah.
And it would require a lot of time away from one-to-one conversations in person. Yeah. So I wouldn't want the job.
Well, I probably shouldn't create it for myself either.
No.
I'll do it.
There are folks who are wondering if you're going to spend some time like you used to do on cleanup Saturdays with a short meditation at the beginning. So
I'd like to do that, and then I'd like to schmooze.
Well, that's
wonder about it. Yeah,
I didn't think you were going to come and give a Dharma talk.
No. Nope. Though you never know. If one's needed, you just push the button somewhere. Blah.
Right.
I will not talk about the Four Noble Truths. Blah. I will not. No.
But then we'd need a microphone, and
we would. Yeah.
Schmoozing sounds much more inviting.
I agree. Okay, how about I toss it over to you, Jim, and I will adjust it so your picture goes out over YouTube as well and Facebook, I hope.
Very good.
And I shall be back when you're done.
All right, I will.
I hope.
I'll spotlight myself.
All right, there you go.
The Zoom folks. So you were invited to join some mindful movement. We always begin with the earth and our connection with the earth and the sensory organs on the bottoms of the feet. It's a very powerful set of neurons that connect up through the whole body. The rest of the body knows where the earth is because of the sensitivity of the feet. And so we pause and just appreciate that there's messages coming from the bottoms of the feet all day long, indicating that we're standing in a place we belong, in a place that's safe, in a place that's energizing. The earth is radiating energy to us in our seemingly separate forms called the human body, but it's really a seemingly separate process of action and speech and love and awareness. This is the human body, and it's balanced. It has a way of reorganizing muscles and tendons and bones and ligaments to be balanced in many different ways. We can turn without moving our feet, just pivoting around a central axis and relaxing the arms hanging from the shoulder sockets. They can just swing like old ropes. And that soothing rhythm of movement is so different than the tempo of modern life. As things open up, I'm enjoying driving around the city less and less and less because everyone seems to be in such a hurry. Rapidly move their 2,000-pound metal devices all over the space around me. It's very disconcerting. I enjoyed all those months of occasional car drives. At any rate, we can balance, we can soothe our nervous system by by doing gentle movements and having uh, a an opening between the teachers often say, imagine a lemon or an egg in your armpit, so your hands are and arms are away from the body. And then when you take a full breath, there's nothing restricting the balloon of your lungs to push out on your rib cage. You can feel the rib cage expanding to the sides, in the back, and in the front, just like a balloon was pressing from the inside of the rib cage. And each of those expansive movements is a rejuvenation. It's a renewal of energy in the body, and there's a grateful acceptance of that new energy if we pause and listen. And we can step out and press our palms outward away from the body, and then turn the wrists and gather the hands back towards the body. Just another soothing rhythm of movement back into one leg with most of the weight, and pushing forward, most of the weight going forward on the forward leg, turning the hands so that the palms are pressing out, and then turning again, gathering in. All day long, we're engaging with our world, sometimes giving attention to things, bringing energy to new situations, or receiving gifts, smiles, and food and drink, and all sorts of gifts come in, and we can just feel that easy rhythm. Then switching, we'll step towards the other corner and push gently, turn the wrists and pull in. Setting up slow movements is an antidote to the crazy rhythms of modern life. The nervous system needs time away from that chaos. And simple movement becomes a tonic, renewal, a soothing, healing pattern. Just simple things, but just turning your palms towards the earth as if you were standing in water, and just moving your hands back and forth through the water. Imagining the watery joints in your knees and your hips and your shoulders and your wrists and elbows, everything moving through water with a watery, fluid rhythm. And occasionally checking in with the feet and how they have to adjust when we get weight over on one side and move across the center to the other side. The feet are engaged, or one foot's engaged when the weight's on that side, and the other foot becomes more and more engaged as the weight changes. But it's not the words about the changing weight, it's the sensations that move through the lower legs, the hips, the shoulders, changing. But the rhythm of the change is healing. We can come to stillness. Again, imagining those proverbial eggs or lemons underneath the armpit. allowing the arms just to kind of hang freely from the shoulder sockets. And after moving back and forth for a while, the pause often reveals a lot of activity in the nervous system, in the fingers, and the palms, and the back of the hand. And if we interlock the fingers low and come up the midline to the height of the shoulders, turn the hands over and press against the sky, release, and press out to the side. And again, sinking down, we interlock the fingers in the middle, come up the midline to the shoulders, turn the hands over and press overhead. Hold that position for a couple of breaths. And then release. Out to the side, letting the arms just hang in the field of gravity for a minute. And again, sinking, interlocking the fingers, come up, turn over, press the palms against the sky, take a deep breath in, and then push your hands along the edge of the clouds. You're brushing the clouds. And exhale to one side, come back to the center and breathe in. Breathe out to the other side, brushing across the bottoms of the clouds with your open palms. They're locked together so they kind of work together, riding the breath out away from the center is an exhale. Towards the center is an inhale.
Everybody is a wondering what and where they all came from. Everybody is a worrying where they're gonna go when the whole thing's done.
And coming into the center, one more breath in.
But no one knows for certain, and it's all the same to me. I guess I'll just
become
let the
aware
mystery be.
of all the complexity of the nervous system.
Everybody is a wondering what and where they all came from.
Brushing the clouds.
Everybody is worrying where they're gonna go when the whole thing's done. But no one knows for certain, and it's all the same to me.
Stimulating, healing, soothing.
I guess I'll just let the mystery be.
A lot of words for just feeling relaxed.
Hey, Mr. Tambourine Man, play a song for me. I'm not sleepy and there is no place I'm going to.
And we can sink again.
Hey, Mr. Tambourine Man, play a song for me.
Center.
In the jingle jangle mon, and I'll come following.
Gathering energy from the sky and bringing it down into the crown of the head.
Hey, Mr. Tambourine Man, play a song for me.
All the cells of breathing in as you raise your arms out.
I'm not sleepy and there is no place I'm going to. Hey, Mr. Tambourine Man, play a song for me. In the jingle jangle mon, and I'll come following you.
Civilized activities during the day, hiking, driving, all sorts of. Some people even use pencils and write on paper still. We're teasing my granddaughter about that. She went through college using a laptop. She hardly ever used a pencil. But the grandparents rely on that old old technology a lot. Anyway, opening to the side, coming down the center, relaxing the arms, letting everything just hang. Grateful for
happiness
continuity of awareness,
is here and
sustained
now,
awareness with
and
a curious attitude.
happiness
How does it feel to
is
open
here
to the
and
side?
now.
How does it feel to stretch overhead? How does it feel to just stop and let the nervous system reset with stillness and silence?
Good girl.
You get to feel this river of activity in a silent, still nervous system. Little changes every millisecond. So grateful for the sensitivity and the coordination and the flow of this nervous system. We bring our hands together in gratitude, bowing to all the people across the country, across the world that join with us, and our healing rituals that we call qigong, or mindful movement. And on the third Saturday of August, I'll be online doing another half-day retreat. But I'll have more announcement on that later. Thank you for today. And I'll take myself off of Spotlight. Go back to gallery view so I can see all of you.
Hello, Jim. Oh. Bringing everything back to here. We now have... All right. I think. Thank you, dear Jim. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, yes, I can. I was just about to mute myself and simplify my life by just sitting here.
Speaker gallery. There we go.
Frank is back. Nice to see you.
Frank! Hello, handsome fellow from Germany. You going to say hello?
Hello, everybody. Hi, Robert. Hi, Jim. Hi, Portland community. Nice to see you.
Well, your hair is very short. It's efficient, isn't it?
Yes.
Well, nice to see you. Let's make a date and chat soon.
Okay.
All right. Thanks. All right. So let me, how do I do this? You're spotlighted. I can't get you off. Oh, there we go. There we go. Yes. All right. I want to thank you for coming this morning. For those of you that have tuned in on this later on YouTube or Facebook, for coming then. And I want to say out loud my gratitude for being able to play this role. I have learned so much through teaching. And the role, as I understand it, that I play is, from the Theravadan Buddhist world, is called Kalyanamitta. It means spiritual friend. It isn't guru. It isn't great master. It isn't anything like that. It's someone who will walk the path of life with us. And there's a particular piece of the path of life that I've been interested in for more than 50 years. Kind of mind-boggling. 50 years. And it's this Eightfold Path and the whole Buddhist psycho-spiritual, social way of understanding the world, which is intended and works to reduce suffering, our own and others. And I spoke at the beginning about Jennifer's now diagnosed altitude sickness, and she's going to be okay. Jennifer went to the hospital very early this morning, Frank, with a terrible, terrible headache. She's in Colorado at 9,000 feet. She went to visit friends yesterday, and they took her right from the airport up to this place they have in the mountains. And she woke up in the night with a terrible headache and vomiting, constant vomiting. But she's okay now and diagnosed. But it pointed out how utterly fragile everything is, how poof, she could be gone in a second, as could any of us. And I want to talk about the 7 enlightenment factors as practical tools. But there's something else I want to say first, which is I'm clearly getting older and my body is aging. I have a meeting on Tuesday morning with a physiatrist who will look at my x-rays and my spine and my hip and see if there's something more that can be done so that I can walk more freely. I don't think I'm ever going to carry a backpack again. That's big. Imagine those places in the mountains that I cherish, that I thought I would go back to again. So this body is headed into aging and breakdown and decay, and then saying goodbye to everybody and everything. And I also want to honor the fact that we're in a profound epidemic, and it's far from over. There could well be another variant. The longer more people are not vaccinated, the more the probability is that there's going to be variants. And there's a problem with greed, in that the northern world, the wealthy world, is not going on full production of vaccines to get them to everybody who needs them all over the planet. There's some. I think they're generating 1 billion doses. There are 7 billion of us. In my opinion, there should be a project on the level of the Manhattan Project. Makes me sad. And in terms of coming suffering, and kind of like lighting a flame under us in our practice, the climate is really changing. I bought my son and his wife and 2 grandsons a pretty high-quality air filter, because I think we're going to have more smoke again this summer. I don't think we're in danger of fire here, though we could. But there are fires burning that are hundreds of square miles. Imagine that. New York is smoky, Well, I don't know if it is today, but it was 2 days ago, from the fires in California and Oregon. And our political system is broken. And there are forces of darkness and madness that are struggling to be in control. And they may win. And all this stress is destabilizing relationships. And we're living in interesting times. So if we're going to not be crazy, and if we're going to be responsible, response-able, to respond to things rather than react to things, it really behooves us to become saner and saner. In order to be beacons, in order to be stabilizers in our families and in our relationships, to really cultivate a stable consciousness and loving. So we practice not just for ourselves, but for all beings, for our families, for each other. We practice so that no matter what comes, we can remain kind and loving. I wish I could footnote what I'm about to say, but I can't. I can't remember. There's a remarkable thing that happens sometimes during absolute crises. People remain human and loving despite bad things happening around them. And one of the ways that happens is that if a person has a deeply rooted spirituality. So, the Buddha said, practice as though your hair were on fire. Well, I think it makes sense to do that. So with that as encouragement, I want to see if I can pull something up here. All right, that's there. So I can get to that easily from here. I'm going to change this. All right. This is an experiment for those of you on YouTube and Facebook. I believe that I will now put in your view this drawing. I will not get it to the Zoom people yet, but they'll be next. I can shrink it. Oh, there. It's all working as planned. You can still hear me? How wild. How wild is that? All right. So. You know, Frank, my heart is really delighted seeing you there. It's very nice. Wonderful. Frank and I are teaching a 5-day retreat together in July of 22 at a retreat center that Ruth Denison founded. Oh, and a piece of sad news, actually. I spoke with Richard from Mountain Waters Retreats 2 days ago, and he has decided they're not going back into the retreat business after COVID. So Mountain Waters Retreat will not be happening. I'll be seeking another venue. But back to this. We're told and are deeply conditioned to believe that we can get happy through consumption. And I sure have tried. I continue to try eating, television. I've been watching another rather tedious TV series called, doesn't even matter what it's called. And every time I watch one, I think, why did I do that? What's the point? And the point is distraction, I think. And from that, I'll go to lying in the hammock and just looking up into the trees and realize now this has some satisfaction to it. Because then thoughts are visible and memories and the mind is visible. So one of the ways to think about what we're doing is gardening. We are restraining unwholesome states. We are noticing when the mind is wandering, when it's into greed, hatred, and ignorance, when it's into the 5 hindrances, wanting, I want this, I want that, I want this little thing, I want this big thing. I can't be happy unless I get this thing. Or I don't like the mind striking against objects and pushing them away. Or it's going into restlessness and agitation, jumping around from one object to the next, worry. Or it's in sloth and torpor, dull, can't think of anything, can hardly be awake. And then also doubt. Why am I doing this? Can this work? And there's an alternative, which is to be awake to that. To notice when the 5 hindrances are in the ascendant. And then just the noticing of them is a lot. But then to suppress them, to put them to the side, to substitute them with something. And the something is the somethings are the 7 enlightenment factors. And I want to now see if I can pull this over to my fancy diagram. Not so fancy, but clear. Jim, do I have sound still, please?
I can hear you and I can see the 7 factors.
Whoa, we're cooking. Thank you. Quotes from the Buddha, the Dharma is directly visible, immediate, inviting one to come and see, to be personally experienced by the wise. And I could add here, leading inward. So with the 7 enlightenment factors, the intention of them is to know when they're present and then figure out how to maintain and develop them. And they start with, not a surprise. Oh, hang on. Get this here. Mindfulness. Let's see what this is. I forget. We won't do that today. Come back. So mindfulness, we talk, this is the practice of mindfulness. We speak of it that way anyway. And mindfulness is called the chief of all dhammas, the chief of all mental phenomena, because mindfulness brings everything else along with it. All the other wholesome states are kind of derivative of, I don't know if you can use derivative that way, they are consequential to, if you practice mindfulness, the other wholesome mental states will come along with it. And mindfulness reveals the truth of anicca, dukkha, and anatta, impermanence, unsatisfactoriness, and the self as a process. Another factor that we cultivate is this, hang on, I want to shrink this a bit. Here we go. Curiosity. We can meditate in order to get tranquil and to just go further and further into tranquility and basically numb ourselves out. And when I met Ruth Denison, I had learned how to do this, and I was just kind of sitting there very tired all the time, but also very uninterested in a way. My goal was to sit there for a long time and prove that I was a good meditator. And actually, I was suppressing a whole lot of depression and anxiety and so on. So a second factor of enlightenment, a second factor that we plant in our garden of awakening is this one of curiosity. And we're curious about the 5 aggregates. Oh, wait, let's just pop them up. No, not going to do that. The 5 aggregates. We observe the body. We observe feelings. We observe perception. We observe mental formations. And we observe consciousness itself. What's happening in the mind in this moment? With curiosity and investigation, we increase or decrease. We can observe the increase or decrease of grade, hatred, and delusion. We're not just sitting here like a blob. We're really observing what the practice is doing. We can decide whether to practice what we're doing or turn away from it. We can, attach to or reject present. We learn through curiosity. We see, how is my attachment to pleasure and demand for pleasure leading me to suffering? And how is my resistance to the unpleasant leading me to suffering? And this too provides the impetus to be curious about anicca, dukkha, anatta, the great realizations that bring wisdom. A third enlightenment factor: energy, enthusiasm, determination. I'm going to sit here. I'm going to get myself to my meditation cushion. When I'm here, I intend to really be curious, and I intend to do this with some enthusiasm, even sometimes when I really don't want to. This is where the emergence of spiritual discipline comes in, which I understand to be, and this is certainly true for me, that when I exert spiritual discipline, it's when I do what I really, 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 really want to do. It's the longing and desire that's deep inside. It's not the superficial desires. They're endless. But when I'm willing to stop and exert the effort that's required to stop, that I am manifesting the energy and enthusiasm and determination to actually go deeper in my practice rather than skim around on the surface. At the center, what is this? I forget. Oh, this I'll read this to you. It's kind of nice. It's a quote from the Buddha. Momentary joy is like a lightning flashing moment after moment. Showering joy descends on the body and then disappears like waves breaking on the seashore. Uplifting joy is able to lift the physical body, actually to move it. A sutta tells the story of a young girl who aroused uplifting joy while contemplating the thought of a shrine. Different kinds of joy. When the hindrances and the 10 fetters are neutralized, when ill will is neutralized, one becomes, it says, joyful all the time. I don't know about the joyful all the time. Perhaps when one can manage this all the time. But I do know for sure that one can experience a quiet, delicious ease, bliss. There can be body sensations when the enlightenment factors are ripening, when there's mindfulness and investigation, curiosity, and energy, enthusiasm, there begins to arise joy. And of course, this isn't a linear process because there's more. There's tranquility. Actually, I want to go to concentration first. We develop concentration when we choose a primary object, i.e., sensations of breathing, or a loving kindness mantra, or any other thing, any other perception that you, any other experience that you focus on one pointedly. The more, I'll use the breath though, because that's what I commonly teach, the more attentive and concentrated on the breath, the more intimately one is connected with the breath. Actually, I'm going to take these earphones out for now. There. The distractions fade and they become irrelevant. Worry, like this morning actually, when I had that worry coming up about Jennifer, as soon as the mind went deeply into the breath, then there were no thoughts of Jennifer or the urgent circumstance she was in. There was just here. And then the thoughts would break through again. But it's so helpful to have the capacity to be here and to not go with whatever the frightened mind is generating. The primary object becomes dominant, the sense of breathing. Anicca, dukkha, and anatta become visible as truths. And what's the cultivation of concentration here? I forget what I put in this. Cultivating concentration. Oh, I'm not going to do that now. Too short of time. And then I want to speak about access concentration. At a certain point, and people access this at different rates. Retreat really helps, but it's not essential. We learn how to come to a place where the mind is very quiet, and the mind will rest very easily on the breathing. And then the word access means we have access to the deep concentration states, the jhanas that the Buddhists talk about. And we also have access to moment concentration, so that when a thought arises, for instance, it's noticed and boom, it's targeted very automatically by the mind. And so with mindfulness then and concentration in concert, the temporary nature of mental phenomena becomes more and more obvious. So I want to review. We have mindfulness, investigation, curiosity, energy, enthusiasm, determination, joy, and concentration. And then we also develop tranquility. And the image that comes to mind for me with tranquility is the image of a lake, a tranquil lake. Actually, I'm having a memory right now of being at Hollyhock one time, and the ocean was glassy. It's very unusual for the ocean to be like glass, but it was. A tranquil ocean. And you know what a tranquil mind is because everyone has experienced it. But how about having access to that frequently? Like every morning when you get up and you do your meditation, or whenever else in the day you actually take the time. And at first, for many people, it's not very tranquil. There's a lot of thinking and planning and worrying and whatever the neurotic training is. But then at some point, one learns how to inhabit tranquility. And so it's calm, relaxed, and peaceful. Desire, grief, and delusion are gone. And one is peaceful, happy, and content. And this can be in the midst of difficult times. And then lastly, this is a huge and beautiful term. Let me see what this refers to. I will read this. At this stage of the path, all the components of body and mind, the 5 aggregates in the past, present, and future, are exactly the same. There is no such thing as good, bad, or indifferent. It is all simply reality, impermanent, unsatisfactory, and selfless. In this state of perfect balance, the sutta tells us, clinging to the material things of the world ceases utterly without remainder. So, I know in my life and in the lives of many people I've met, we were trained that being excited or really looking forward to something or really disliking something is desirable. And being passionate about things. This is really not that. This is a very quiet passionate in which this moment is like this. And then there's a couple of other lines here. Equanimity based on unity and equanimity based on diversity. We can be equanimous in the midst of whatever is happening. So I want to come back. Let me do a review here first. See if I can shrink this. Yes, good. Always pleased it works. So the 7 enlightenment factors, and yes, I will post this on my blog as soon as I'm done here today. The 7 enlightenment factors, beginning with mindfulness, which is fundamental, investigation, curiosity, energy, enthusiasm, determination, joy, tranquility, concentration, and equanimity. When these 7 factors come into balance, there are moments of deep insight. Coming back to you now here, getting rid of this, moving this to full frame, doing this. Haha. I think it may have worked to YouTube. So I think I'm back. Am I back? Yay. So what do you think? Is that useful? Most often, I speak about and teach 2 of these mental factors. Well, really 3. I speak about the balance between concentration and mindfulness, and the very simple practice of mindfulness of breathing. It 50 years into it, I'm getting how simple it is. But to actually come into the sensations of breathing, not the idea of breathing, not a metaphor about breathing, not a picture of breathing, but the actual tissues, not even that. It's the experiences, the feeling of breathing in and breathing out. The mind wanders, and then mindfulness happens. And nobody has the least idea where that mindfulness comes from. That it exists is true, but does it happen in the brain? Does it happen? What? We don't know. Nobody knows. I don't think anybody's ever going to know. It's consciousness. It's the miracle. We want to reduce it to something. But what the Buddha discovered, and I can say this, I know it's true. I think you probably know it's true too. That mindfulness is a phenomenon that somehow or another, mysteriously, you can create the conditions for, and then there it is. And then you create the conditions again, and there it is, and there it is. And it becomes more and more prominent in your mental constellations, in your mental presence, in your mental phenomena. So there are more and more moments of mindfulness, which means more and more moments of conscious life. And we practice, and we have as fruits of our practice, we start driving mindfully. We start changing diapers mindfully. We start spinning wool mindfully of all the strange things to be doing. Hi, Denise. You make me think of Gandhi. So, concentration is this ability to focus the mind in like a laser. And mindfulness is this capacity to be aware of what's happening. And you throw into that curiosity and energy, and you do it over some time, and tranquility and equanimity start to become normal. Imagine that. I remember on my very first retreat in India, the huge breakthrough I had was a few hours of concentration and tranquility, equanimity, which I'd never had before, except for maybe occasionally on skis or climbing a snowfield before dawn or something like that. So, what do you think? Have any questions? Comments? Complaints? peons of joy. I don't know if that's the right way you pronounce that first word. Oh, I got to put these in if I can hear anybody. I think.
Hey, Robert.
Good morning, Tim. Hi.
Hey,
How's the bicycling going?
You right? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you fine.
Did I hear you right when I thought I heard you say that the dark forces in the world leadership are going to win?
I don't know.
Okay.
They have many times in the past, and it's not possible, not impossible.
And they have not totally dominated, or we'd all be living in an authoritarian state, right?
It's true.
Okay.
I guess what I meant to say is I don't know. And to live in I don't know is very different from confidence that it's all okay.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. But there's a big gray area between they will dominate and everything's going to be fine. There's a big area in there, and that's where those of us, the many people that are working on democracy, I think need to feel hopeful and motivated. Mm-hmm. So thank you. And I think the work you do really helps, which is why I wanted to just ask you to fine tune that, what I thought I heard. Thank you.
Well, Tim, you may know me well enough. I don't know. I hide this a lot, but I've had to work a lot in my life against a very deep, despairing pessimism that came out of the awful side of my family of origin. The alcoholism, and there was so much despair, and I've struggled for so long to escape from being enthralled by that system. And I've been thanks to the Dharma and wonderful therapists and teachers, I've been profoundly successful. And that side can get fired up sometimes. So I don't mind being reminded to be articulate about don't know mind rather than, well, it's all over now. So thank you.
Hey, Robert.
Danny, hello.
Hello.
You got a joke?
Oh yeah, I do. You know that you cannot run through a campground?
No.
You have to ran through a campground because it's past tense.
That's really stupid.
That's really stupid, isn't it? It's almost as bad as what a goose I am.
That was rude.
I did actually have something to say, but
all right, go ahead, please.
But I've totally undermined my ability, my credibility right away.
I'm sorry.
But anything for a laugh. I just wanted to give you some insight on the fact that I'm working the front lines right now on COVID. I'm leading a group of incredibly dedicated contact tracers, 50 of them, who every day spend their day reaching out and talking to people and telling them what to do. And just that insight that this is the most amazing effort this world has ever been involved in. in terms of the biggest challenge, but the amazing way that we've come together, not as a nation, as a world, and unified, and that everyone is motivated to do something. It's a shot across our bow, but we are responding. And even though the inoculation rate in, like some parts of Africa is under 10%, people are responding. We are acting up with that. When this happened in 1918, 50 million people died. And we are so fortunate to live in this world where we can communicate, where our finest scientists are working on creating solutions. So I just have to counter a little bit of the dark message we opened with, that say that people are really working hard, very bright, very dedicated, very smart people are working hard on this. And in spite of some real stupidity out there, of people that just will not get their frickin' shot, but in spite of that, we are doing amazing work, and we have come together and realized that we are not a nation, we're a world. This is the butterfly effect in full bloom. We are not, if somebody sneezes in China, we go achoo. That has become a reality. So this isn't a moment of awakening, a moment of awareness. And it has caused us to pause and contemplate climate change because of the slowing down of everything. So this is really a great moment of awareness, of consciousness, and of the possibility of change. And I'm sort of grateful for it, that we have this opportunity to respond, and great kindness has happened. Great ability and our ability to be kind, and our ability to share, and we're being challenged to share even more. So I just have to say that this morning, that and I'm privileged to lead this incredible team that's doing this. I don't know how I found myself in this spot, but I'm very happy that I am. So I just wanted to give that little beacon of light there. Thank you.
Well, that's deliciously, delightfully inspiring, Danny. And I'm happy to be reminded of that truth. Frank, you put your hand up.
On my computer, that is a symbol for applause.
Oh, I see.
What Danny just said.
I see.
Yeah, that was beautiful to hear what you said and shared, Danny. And it reminded me that it always depends who looks at a situation. Whether it's obviously good, difficult, or very bad, with different perspectives on the same thing in the middle, in the center, completely different outcome. And so you are now full of light and very enthusiastic and practicing love and sharing and inspiring other people. And so for you, the pandemic is somehow an awakening present. And so thank you for this inspiration to stay positive.
Yeah. Ditto. Thanks, Danny. Are you speaking, Joan? Is Jonas speaking? I can't hear.
Oh, you know what? Robert, I'm sorry. I didn't realize that I had unmuted myself. Yes, I was speaking, and I was speaking to myself about whether I wanted to talk about, because after following Danny, it's kind of difficult, because it was such a beautiful thing what he said. But what I've been noticing, and so I will get to it. And the other thing is, actually, the first thing I want to tell Danny, all the great Talmudic scholars in the Talmud, that biblical thing, they always started whatever talk they were going to do with a bad joke. That was a requirement. So that you've now joined the Talmudic scholars. Anyway, what I'm noticing on a personal note, and I don't know if it's everybody experiences this, but the more I concentrate and the more I've been in, the more I meditate, it's my mind is beginning to fight me. It's like thoughts will come up. Now it's like memories are beginning to fight. They're memories going all the way back to childhood that for some reason I can't seem to get away from. It's almost like my brain or my mind does not want to let me continue forward anymore. It's something, and the other thing I did want to say is, one of the interesting things was, I think I was talking about the last time about allowing the parasympathetic and the sympathetic and driving. And now I realize that one can meditate totally while driving. You can drive mindfully. You cannot drive consciously, because then you just have an accident. But you can drive mindfully. There's a huge difference. In other words, you can be driving in that trance state, but be feeling the steering wheel, or feeling your pedals, but still maintaining the trance state so that you don't have an accident. If that makes sense. Anyway, but it's just,
It does not make sense. We may be using different terminology.
No, well, I perhaps, maybe, but and I'll relate it to motorcycle racing or martial arts. When one gets to a point of being in the zone, everything is total awareness. You feel everything, you see everything, and you hear everything. At the same time, all movements are fluid and totally, in a sense, even though you know where you're going, you know what you're doing, there's just a reaction, an unconscious motion to it. If you sit there and you go, okay, I'm coming to this corner, I need to do this, I need to turn 5 degrees, 6 degrees, 7 degrees. By the time your brain even contemplates that, processes that, you've missed your corner, you've crashed. But if you're totally aware, if you allow yourself to be totally aware within that calm space, then whatever comes up, you're going to accept it and get through it. And that's really what driving is about. It's when our unconscious state, when the trance state is broken, we go into some sort of rage, we go into some sort of, so it's a matter of keeping that calm state. But that's not what I was, anyway. Did that explain it?
Not in a reality that I know.
Oh, well, we'll have to get together and talk about it. It's like walking. One does, anyway, someday we can talk about it. It's something that my chess partner Fritz Perls used to talk about.
In terms of your first comment about being at a stuck place in your meditation.
Yes.
It's hard to know without further discussion, but my guess is that the approach to that would be rigorous practice. Regular, routine practice. No excuses. And
I have that. I mean, I do that. I have a set practice. I've increased my practice and everything. And towards the end of, as the time goes away and I begin to Anyway, yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry. I'll keep
That's
listening.
just without talking more about it. And chances are, there's something emerging in your practice that is not. It is ego dystonic, to go Western, and it's not something you want to know about. In fact, you'd just as soon it stayed really in the outer reaches. And so then practice gets blurry and people forget the practice. And we run up against obstacles like that. And then sometimes it's time to have a conversation with a teacher or but almost always when people come to me and they say, I was practicing really strongly or I was really into it. And then 3 months ago, I sort of quit, or 5 months ago, I quit, or something like that. And when I ask about what else was happening, it's like, oh, well, my mother died, or something happens often. And then it's unbearable. We can't stay conscious. So we revert to distractions and other things. So we should talk sometime.
Okay. Thank you.
And about the thing, this is where I said we might be using terminology differently, because mindfulness is the non-trance state. Mindfulness is awake. It's the opposite of the trances. And if one wants to put a person into hypnosis, one induces a trance. And if one wants to resist hypnosis, one stays mindful. So using the word, defining those terms like that trance equals consumed in an idea, consumed in a feeling, and mindfulness is awake, noticing, then that's the place, that I believe is what flow is when mindfulness is right present. And it's actually not a trance. It's because in the midst of a martial arts move, if you begin to do it and it's not the right thing, you change, because you're not in robot. You're absolutely, no, I shouldn't use martial arts because I don't, well, I used to use racquetball because I knew what flow was in racquetball, and you never miss a shot in flow. It's quite something. And that is when mindfulness is spontaneously, fluidly present. And we can develop that. Mindfulness can be spontaneously and fluidly present in conversation too. We can be in flow in conversation. Harder. So, any other question or comment before we turn into pumpkins? Care, I think your hand is up. You have to unmute.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you clearly. It's great. You're in my head.
Oh, go ahead. I mean, everybody said. So I just I'll be super quick because I know it's the end. First, not to be the devil's advocate or anything, but I really actually did appreciate your comment in the beginning. Like, I don't know, I think it's a good reminder for me to remember that there is, like you said, that uncertainty. And that you do, like you said, need to meditate like your hair is on fire, because you never know what's coming. So I did appreciate that. And then the other question I have, super quick, is that if you could say,
wait,
the
pause,
seven. Oh,
pause.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Don't go super quick.
Okay, sorry, it's the end.
It's not the end till you've, with as much space as you need, spoken your question, and we've connected about it. So not super quick. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Well, that's the first thing that I appreciated your comment. And the other thing is about, you spoke about the 7 factors of enlightenment, or enlightenment factors.
Uh-huh.
If you could give me like one sentence or one piece of wisdom on how to apply something like this in my daily life, that would super help me practice.
Now that's a really important question. So I'm glad you didn't hurry. There's a terrible sickness we have about hurrying, It's epidemic across the culture, across the world, I think. So, the elevator pitch on the 7 enlightenment factors. I think it's really useful to memorize them. Like I think it's useful to memorize the 5 hindrances. And then in a moment, one could ask oneself, which of the 7 enlightenment factors are alive right now? And then you could immediately say, well, the second one, curiosity, is alive because I'm actually remembering to ask. That's pretty cool. I'm manifesting curiosity about my inner life. And I was mindful enough to notice that I needed to ask. That was pretty impressive. And now, well, I got a lot of restlessness and agitation, so there isn't much tranquility and there isn't much concentration. I don't think there's much equanimity either because I'm kind of flipped out about what's happening. Or, here I am. I'm sitting here and there's almost no wandering mind. That's interesting. Concentration's kind of up, isn't it? There's moments when this mind is tranquil. That's cool. Let me just see if I can connect with that as a quality. Is that making sense as an approach? Just to notice when they're present and not present. And that noticing is the key. That's what makes everything happen. Mindfulness is the what do you call it? The active ingredient. Is there a follow-up question?
No, that really helps me a lot. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Great. In that, along the lines of that question, Care, I'm really working a lot. I've been doing this for years, but it's changed. It's deeper than it's ever been. The more that I inhabit and understand what comfort and ease are, the more I notice when I get caught up in the hurry sickness. I declared yesterday a day off. I got up really early to get Jen to the airport. And then I was awake. But then what I did, I had several things to get done. I did 2 things. I spent time in the hammock. And then I got up and ate. And then I spent time on the couch. And I tried to do a few tasks around here. I just couldn't bear it. And I spent more time in the hammock. I feel a little tearful as I talk about it. It was such a relief to not be on my computer, though I was drawn to it. I watched 2 hours of that ridiculous series. Jeez. It's called Manifest. That's the series. It's stupid. But the drama between people is interesting. I don't know why. But anyway, I did that. And then I put it away again. It's like, why am I doing this? And I went and lay on the hammock some more. And that was the whole day. Suddenly it was 8:30 at night. It was like, what the hell happened? But I had not been in a hurry all day, mostly. And I'm not in a hurry right now. I'm feeling quite at ease right now, and I hope to continue on like that.
Robert?
I hear Denise, no?
No, it's Eileen, and I promise I will be so quick.
Where? Oh, there you are. Hi.
Hi. Something that you've been saying all along. You know that I also have been following Pema Chodron.
Yeah.
And it seemed to me that she uses a term that you've been implying, and you always use it without saying it. And when you're saying we don't know what's going to happen, we don't. She uses the term groundlessness. And
yes.
Isn't that where it's experiencing massive groundlessness? But every day you end with that. Well, maybe we'll be here tomorrow. So I'm wondering if that's what that's it. I'm not saying any more.
Thank you. Yes. Yes. I vote for groundlessness. I did. Go ahead. Hi, Sherry.
Robert,
Yeah. Hi.
would you tell us about the new Buddha image behind you?
Oh, yeah. It's hard to see in this light. Let me. He was a gift to me. Oh.
Beautiful.
It's a beautiful image, isn't it?
Beautiful.
Yeah, it came all framed and has nothing on it. Oh, yes, it does have something. It's lacquer, and it's from Thailand. Oh no, it's from it's from Thailand. And I would guess, because we have a couple of other pieces like it, that the lightness here is crushed eggshell.
Oh my.
That's how they make the light colors.
Goodness.
Yeah. Gotta put it down.
We had a very beautiful Buddha bust, a head on a base, and the head was bronze, and we acquired it before I was even aware of Buddhism.
Right.
But it drew me very, very powerfully, and I just had to have it. We were traveling in Asia, and we brought it, and it was always in a prominent place in our home. Ended up on a special table in the bedroom, and then our house burned down.
Oh.
And, of all the things I was sorry to lose, maybe so aware of losing and how impermanent everything is, were family photographs, especially wedding photographs and baby photographs, and that Buddha head. And evidently, because it's bronze, it melts at a lower temperature or something.
Yeah.
But when they came with the big scooper thing to pick up the debris and put it in a truck and take it away, I asked them to be very careful when they dropped to see if maybe it was in this heavy debris of the burning building, and we never found it.
Wow. What a fine teaching on impermanence. Every time I lose some artifact, one of my Buddhist artifacts, which I don't like doing, but there's right along with, oh no, I lost it, is, well, duh. Of course you lost it. But yeah. Well, I need to go soon. I have 2 nice events this afternoon. One is I'm going to the gym for an hour. And the second is, I'm sure she'd be fine with me saying this, Ann Nato Campbell, who some of you know as one of our great donors for the seismic work that we're doing at PIMC, has requested that I be the officiant at her mother's memorial service.
Wow.
There's two services coming up. The one Wednesday, and then on August the 19th, Anne has rented the Chinese Garden, and there's going to be a memorial service for her mother there that I'll be officiating. And so I'm going over today to her home to learn about her mother, who was quite an amazing human being. The little bit I know so far, her mother was from Toronto, and she married one of the NATO brothers. I forget which one. And then this was pre-war, and she moved to Portland. And among the things that happened was she and a girlfriend went out and looked at apartments and signed for the apartment, because there was no way a Japanese man would be accepted to rent an apartment in Portland, Oregon. So well, I have lots to learn, I think, in this afternoon, and what a great privilege to be able to participate in something like that. So, friends, let's go out on Yashakur. You remember Yashakur, Frank? Easy to learn. 2 words. It's from the Sufis, and it's from Islam. And the words are, Yashakur is one of the 101 names of God in Islam, which begin with Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. We begin in the name of Allah, whose names are compassion and mercy. Now that's nice. And then there's 99 more. And Yashakur is how exquisitely the One, the God, the mystery, is manifesting to me in this moment as you. How exquisitely God manifests to me as you. And if we think about it for just a second, it's so weird that we're alive. I mean, and there's this little tiny sliver of, the universe is supposedly 14.2 billion years, and we're going to live this much, and I get to have you in this moment. Now that's pretty damn amazing. So Yashakur, we'll do it 9 times. I don't know why 9, but it's 3 times 3. So, and we can look at a picture or a name. Don't forget the people whose pictures are not on. And with love in your heart, and see if this is another cultivation of a state. How exquisitely the One manifests in this moment to me as you. So here we go. Hands filling with love. And let's unmute yourself so we have a wonderful cacophony. And remember, as you do this, there's someone wishing that of you, or seeing you. Ya Shakur.
Shakur.
Ya Shakur.
Shakur.
Ya Shakur. Ya Shakur. Ya Shakur. Ya Shakur. Ya Shakur. Twice more. Ya Shakur. Well, that was noisy. I liked it. What fun. I feel very open-hearted and nourished right now. Much more than when I came here this morning. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Robert.
Thank you, Robert. Thank you, everybody, for being here.
Thank you, Frank.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Be well, everyone.
Be safe. Be safe.
Bye-bye.
Be long.
Are you going to swish us out or not?
Oh, you want? Of course. You sent me some sound effects.
Right.
I think I'll just do the whoosh. You ready? So, this is Captain Kirk to the Enterprise. Are you ready to enter hyperspace? Well, goodbye, friends on Facebook.